In this video, we'll go through the common task brief walkthrough. If you are doing these in order, your display will look something like this if you finish the previous one. So we'll scroll up in our online knowledge base, come to our common tasks, and click on the common brief. Or at the end, you can use the link that's already there. So let's do that. So this walkthrough asks us to create 3 documents, and we'll navigate to our test data file or folder that we created. We see the exported key file that we would normally want to move to a thumb drive or something detachable. So let's create our files here. So we create a Word document to begin with. We call it test document, and we hit enter, and we'll enter some text, version 1 test document, and we'll just close Word and save that file. I'm going to do the same thing with an Excel. I guess they call it a worksheet now. It used to be called a workbook. So we call it test workbook because we missed the transition. We'll open that up and put version 1 up at the top and save and close that. And finally, we'll create a text file called test and version 1 test note. And we'll save and close that. Now, the next steps show us how to protect. And we'll start with the text file. So we right click and we see this SSProtect activate. Choose that, and we are prompted to log in. Since we didn't and the dialog was present, we enter our credentials, our password, and hit return, and now SSProtect will protect that and present us with a red overlay. Now, the red overlay means that we can access this document. If we right click on the notification icon, choose refresh login and hit cancel, it changes the state of the session. We don't have a login session, so the overlay turns yellow, meaning you may or may not be able to access it, but it's SSProtect managed or protected or encrypted. So let's keep going. Let's go ahead and choose the next 2 documents. Right click and say activate. That'll prompt us to log in because we just logged out. If we didn't, then things would have been just fine. It would have come through and you'd see these 2 icons turn red. So now let's go ahead and open the text file. So we just double click and you'll see that it's decrypted and we're presented with the plain text. But notice the icon's gone. Now, this is our in-place encryption. This is actually now in plain text, but we can't actually get to it. So if we right click and say edit in Notepad, for example, this will fail because SSProtect is engaged in a lockout. We try to copy and paste, it won't work either. It'll ask us for credentials, but we supply them, it doesn't matter. So while we are working with the document, only this instance of Notepad can play along, so to speak. Okay, so we'll come here and we'll enter version 2, test note 2, and we'll go ahead and save and close. Now, once this turns red, we can actually right click on it, and now we can see in Notepad, we can see the ciphertext, just like in the walkthrough. Okay, so that's our in place, and you can copy and paste and rename and whatever you want to do. So the file's unlocked once you close it. So we're going to do something different here. We're going to enable 2-factor authentication. So click on your notification icon and come to account configuration. And over here is disable. This is fine-grained 2-factor authentication. Uncheck that and hit OK. And then we're going to continue because we want you to see this would normally be a USB token. This is going to instead use a software simulated pop-up. You'll notice if you read through the text, we're always doing 2-factor authentication under the sheets with an established login session that's built into the protocol. It's part of the protected profile. But let's continue. So we're on step 14, start Excel. And what we're going to show you is you can get to a managed document simply by browsing directly to it using the normal workflows available to the managing applications. We go to test data, open our workbook. We get prompted to acknowledge our second factor. So we would We can configure the USB key and tap it, or here we just hit OK. And we get plain text. In the same drill, this is a plain text file, but it's locked out. So we'll enter version 2, save and close Excel, and SSProtect will re-encrypt, but we have to provide credentials to make sure that this is happening through an authenticated process. So now we're going to do something a little different. Let's convert the test document to a PDF. If you have this, convert to Adobe PDF, and you'll see that this workflow still functions with our protective capabilities. So when Adobe tries to open a document, we get prompted. We have to authenticate. So a remote attacker wouldn't be able to pull this off if you used a USB key they had to physically touch. And that's very, very important. This is authenticated in the cloud, not authenticated locally, very different than some other applications. If it's authenticated locally, it's easier to bypass. In our case, we re-encrypt the document, but since we authenticated the access, we now have a plain text PDF. Okay, so if we scroll down, we can protect the PDF by right-click, activate just like anything else. We get our prompt, and now it's protected. If we shift right-click, we can release protections. That takes it out of the protective control of SSProtect. Now, the instructions or the walkthrough shows you that this isn't always possible. If your account is managed by an organization, they can disable the ability to remove a document from the protective management of SSProtect, which means it's decrypted and released. You can't always do that, and you'll see an error if you attempt to do that, and that fails. So let's reset our second factor, go back to the account configuration, and disable it, hit OK, acknowledge that we want to do that, and we can continue.